But at that time, I remember that first week was 85 hours working and day in, day out, and having lots of mess ups, lots of wait times in the kitchen, lots of we didn't have you're supposed to have sidewalk sheets, like you're supposed to have like a routine for servers to do, like when you like they're finish up the night. Like, oh, you're supposed to check out at the end of the night with like all your tips and your tables, and that was like something like we learned we were doing on the fly. I mean, I did that from high school to college and all that stuff, so I kind of had a good idea of like ins and outs, but actually to do it by yourself and then figuring out the computer systems that do that, it was kind of like a lot of rolling with the punches, but at the same time, like I think also it was we had a lot of family friends. And
welcome to YMI Talking, a podcast where the guests are so good, you'll wonder why the host is even talking. In each episode, you will hear one of the leaders of the Lehigh Valley's vibrant business hub. They will tell you the keys to their success, the mistakes they've made, and what they have in store for the future. Here is the host of YMI Talking, from YMI Insurance, Jimmy Honachik.
All right, this is the episode I have been waiting for since I started the podcast. This is unreal. We finally nailed you down. Season 1 of the podcast was sponsored by Notch Modern Kitchen and Bar. We are currently at Notch Modern Kitchen and Bar with the owner, the head chef, the main man of Notch Modern Kitchen and Bar, Jeff Virojanapa. Thank you so much for coming on.
You found me.
First off, thank you for sponsoring season 1. It was awesome to go into, having a podcast with a sponsor, and I couldn't think of a better sponsor than you.
Thank you. Yeah, anytime.
Absolutely. The segment that we would do was such a hit. Everyone loved hearing what everyone's favorite drinks were. Like when we had guests on, that would be the question, was if you could, at the end of the week, like, what is your drink? And people would give us answers.
So that's where you got that from. That's cool.
Yeah, it was given Notch a shout out because I'm a big fan.
Thank you.
So Notch is not your only baby, right? You've got a lot of babies.
Yeah, my baby, the original is White Orchids over at the Promenade Center Valley. We've been there for 18 years now, and
you're like one of the OGs there, right? Like the original.
Yeah, we were like the second restaurant open.
Wow.
I think it was Red Robin first, maybe.
Yeah.
So that was like a brand new lifestyle center mall that Lehigh Valley didn't really have yet at the time, and it was really great. There weren't too many restaurants in the area back then, 17, 18 years ago, and now there's a ton of restaurants everywhere, super saturated. But
I was gonna say, is that a good thing or a bad thing for you as a restaurateur? Do you call yourself a restaurateur? I feel like that's a really cool thing to call yourself, and I would if I owned a restaurant.
Yeah, I guess restaurateur is a good word.
It is.
Yeah. I think that saturated is just, I guess, the way it's going, and is a good thing. They just have to work around,
Yeah.
everything coming at you. This is what I guess everyone does when things are saturated with stuff.
Yeah. And I think like it's good from the standpoint that, there's an appetite in the Lehigh Valley for independent, locally cooked food and, an elevated dining experience. But if there's a whole bunch of those restaurants, it probably makes it challenging to kind of stand out. But I think you guys do a good job. Like, what have you guys done, whether it's at White Orchid or here at Notch, to make yourself stand out?
I think focusing on as many aspects as you can to kind of make it tight and as excellent as you can have it, like in terms of not only just service, food, ambiance, cocktails, bar. I think the more you can kind of have locked and ready to go and in the best you can, I think that kind of hits all the different bullet points for I think most people going out to eat, right? I think if you're kind of short on one of them, then it's a downside, but if you can kind of nail all of them, then that's a good reason for people to come back to a very, saturated market.
Yeah. And you're right. There are so many different elements to a restaurant. Like I just think, oh, you make good food, but it's so much more than that, right? Like the bar here, we just did a fun little segment with Hannah O'Reilly. The bar here is top notch, and the drinks you guys make are incredible. The food's out of this world, and the ambiance, obviously, the decor, it's all really good. What goes into getting all of those things right?
I think with Notch, first and foremost, with White Orchids, that was kind of the family baby, the recipes, the culture, everything was built upon our family and growing that and growing with Notch here. We wanted to also have it be very much coming from the creativity of the chefs of the restaurant, the sous chefs, the team that you see behind us, as well as the bar program as well too. Bring on some of the best bartenders. You can say mixologists. Some people don't like that word as a bartender, but just as bringing people on that can provide that creativity and letting them roll and create. I think that's what I kind of envision Notch to be is something that is being able to have different things that are special and unique to Notch, and you're not going to hopefully see elsewhere because the creativity comes from the staff, and then not necessarily from me. I'll definitely be helping to run and steer the ship, but the personnel is where it's at in terms of guests coming to see certain bartenders day in day out, or certain nights of the week, or servers, or coming to a chef's table because they had the chef that has been doing it for them for the past each anniversary for 3 years.
I was going to say, can we call out the chef's table where we are right now?
Yeah.
So we're in Notch, and Notch is obviously incredible, and the decor is amazing. But you have this special room that is kind of separated from everything. It's like quiet. It's an oasis. And the best part is the view. Like right behind you is the actual kitchen where you can see the chefs cooking. Do the chefs like that, by the way? Or are they like, I don't want people watching me while I'm working?
I think that, coming and working here, you kind of know that that's what I'm going to get into. I'm going to be getting into people, looking at me, but I think, there are a lot of restaurants that have like an open kitchen and the guests can see directly into the kitchen. And then there's restaurants that, you can't see anything in the kitchen. So I think with Notch, we wanted to kind of, like I was saying, showcase the staff and their creativity. And I think, when we, on a really busy Friday night or, Saturday night, it's a fun spectacle to watch with a lot of bodies move around and all these plates go out in the kitchen, and the garnish and the finish of each dish, and seeing, different moving parts coming from different sides of the kitchen and all that getting put together. The chef's table is even probably a little bit cooler because you can kind of see the dishes that are just being made for just the special occasion, just the chef's table, where it's not something that it's not going to be a pad thai coming off the wok. It's going to be, hey, I requested from the chef that I love, seafood, and I love, scallops. So they're going to make a, 5-course meal curated on, your interests, or sometimes people have like, hey, we're vegetarian and vegan. So the chefs just make a special menu just for that night, just for them. So you get the menu. It's catered to your, interests, and you get to see them putting those dishes together. It's cool. Yeah. We get good, like, nice emails coming back, and or sometimes, get we had I think a birthday party at like this room was like 10 people, chef's table, and standing ovation for the chefs and the team. That's something that I think the crew love, where if you can't, if you're in a kitchen where you can't see anything, you can't see them, then you can't also be appreciated. So I think that's also a good shout out or acknowledgement to the team. I think that's a good thing for being part of in terms of our back office crew.
And it is so cool to have this intimate experience here, and to be able to learn more about the course and what you're eating and here at the chef's table. So that's awesome. I will say I've been watching The Bear a lot lately, and I expected a lot more yelling back there, but it seems like you have a staff, and this I think comes back to you, right? Like a culture where people want to be here and they enjoy working here. How do you cultivate that and make that happen?
I think it comes from the team that's put together, and of course you want to have like that team kind of mimic what kind of personality you'd like to have the restaurant or the business like resemble, and just kind of work on that day in, day out. Is just you want to see that part of the culture carried out by the staff, and I think that's just like probably your business as well. You want to bring on people that kind of carry your philosophies and your way of work and your way of life, and if you have those kind of people around you, then they kind of also mimic that, and then they have a team of people that also do that, and then you have like a little ecosystem of Jimmys running around that all share the same.
That's exactly why Avery's leaving us soon. There's an ecosystem of Jimmys running around. But no, I think that makes total sense. And what I love is, you and I have a lot of similarities in the sense that it's family business, but I like that neither of us started in these businesses, right? You are not a restaurateur by trade. And where you were before, I'll let you tell it, but it's such a different, focus and speciality than restaurants. Tell us about that transition for you.
I mean, it felt, now it sounds like a big transition, but I think with being young and youthful at the time, and out of college, and it felt like your typical kid trying to figure out what they like doing, and I think that's kind of I went to school, and growing up working in restaurants, and making some money on the in restaurants, but also really enjoying being in the culture and being social. That kind of was something that I just loved in the restaurant industry, and going to college and still having restaurants to come back to in the summer, or that has always been kind of something I never even though I didn't work during the school year or something like that, coming back and doing that was always something that I was so excited to do. And I graduated with an engineering degree, moved out to California, and was in Silicon Valley for a couple of years, and but I still always had favorite thing to do on the my pastime would be going out to dinner, or spending the weekend checking out some really cool restaurants, Googling them up and stuff like that, and just really being engulfing myself in food, and what's cool to drink, or over there at that time was wine was just such a big thing, and being by Napa and Sonoma, we do weekend trips just to see how many wineries we could hit before we couldn't hit anymore, and so that was always a part of my little side quest, as well too, besides just going back to sitting in a cubicle or going to the production floor and teaching people how to make, fiber optic cables, so, and then one of the most fun things I did in college was take an entrepreneurship class, an engineering entrepreneurship class, and that got me more on the thinking of like the business side of things and how to create a startup, optical engineering company with like some classmates. And when I finished school, I kind of also had that in the back of my mind that this would be really cool one day to do that, and maybe I'll go get my master's and open up a business down the line. And I know that my dad also, growing up, he was an engineer as well. He's always wanted to have his own business. And during that time, I think the tech bubble burst in like 2000-ish. And my dad had been working in the Lehigh Valley, with Bell Labs, and it spun off to Lucent, a Gear, AT&T, all those spin-offs of that company. And he was like, hey, I know that you down the line want to, have your own, maybe your restaurant down the line. I don't want to be interviewing for a job. At 50, he flew out to California because he was interviewing for a job because, they're cutting a lot of people, and they're, chopping the seniors and the higher salary people and stuff like that. And he was like, do you want to, move back and we can kind of get this going? And so, cut my thought of, I'll get my master's. I'll know a little bit more about business. And we, last year, I took my startup company for this optical engineering thing that I was working on my senior year, and completely gutted it, turned it into a restaurant, idea. and we fine-tuned it. And that became the White Orchid's business plan. And then,
fiber optics and pad thai don't seem to go together.
But if you delete a couple words, then it gets there. But I think then we went to Lehigh University's Small Business Development Center, and they took a look at the business plan and the numbers, and we were able to get some loans for it, and that was kind of the start of White Orchids. And yeah.
Do you know the stat? I know it's like always given of like the number of restaurants that don't make it out of the first year. It's
a big one. I think that, when we talked about the market being like really saturated, I think, 17, 18 years ago, there wasn't a lot of restaurants in the Valley here. I think that was a blessing because, we have, two engineers, and my mom was a nurse, at the time. And we were given a lot of chances.
Yeah.
We were, and it was great because that first, opening Little Orchids now, you have to have a lot of things. All your reps have to be like pretty good, and like, but at that time, I remember that first week was 85 hours, working, and day in, day out, and having lots of mess ups, lots of wait times in the kitchen, lots of we didn't have you're supposed to have sideboard sheets, like you're supposed to have like a routine for servers to do, like when you like they're finish up the night, like, you're supposed to check out at the end of the night with like all your tips and your tables. And that was like something like we learned we were doing on the fly. I mean, I did that from high school to college and all that stuff, so I kind of had a good idea of like ins and outs, but actually to do it by yourself and then figuring out the computer systems to do that, it was kind of like a lot of rolling with the punches. But at the same time, like I think also it was we had a lot of family friends and family that we brought on. Like I think my opening staff was my sister had just finished school, so as my sister was serving, and all her friends from college, and my wife's younger brother and all his friends from that graduated as well too. So it was like, these kids that gave me a lot of chances because they were family, and then I knew them and they knew me growing up and stuff like that. So it was really cool.
When we say it's a family business, it's really a family.
It was.
Business.
I mean, we had some family chefs that came from California, and they're like, oh, we only need 4 people in the kitchen because like at the restaurant in California, we have the same amount of seats, but when we opened in Center Valley, we were just had so much more volume than where California, they have a Thai restaurant every 2 blocks,
right?
So we definitely misjudged that, and then we didn't have a full staffed kitchen, and I very quickly hopped into the kitchen, learned all the cooking with my mom. Hopped in, she left her nursing job, my dad was in the kitchen, so we were all like living in the kitchen for like 3-4 years, and that would kind of helped us learn ins and outs very quickly and how to do everything.
Yeah. From talking to you, I know your mom is sort of the heart of the food. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the recipes are from her and our original chefs, and a blend of the two, and also a blend of over the 17-18 years of fine tuning to what the guests at White Orchids enjoy. Not as we started off the food with like a little bit spicier, not as sweet, not as
Then a bunch of Jimmys walked in and said, "Hey, this is too spicy for us."
Yeah, but now people are getting things a lot spicier. Like at Little Orchids, I'm surprised that I'm going through so much more fresh chilies over there than over at White Orchids. Like people want things medium hot, Thai hot, and that's something that I didn't expect. Coming up the third restaurant.
Let's talk about Little Orchids. Let's give that a shout out here, because that's a big deal, and it just happened. I know it's been in the works for a while, but tell everyone, what Little Orchids is and what they can expect there.
I think Little Orchids is kind of my access point to checking out the other restaurants, checking out the original White Orchids, or checking out Notch. It's kind of our take of a light version. It's to me a little bit more approachable.
Little Orchid.
Yeah, Little Orchid.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more, I think, approachable in terms of like price point. We deconstruct a lot of the our presentation dishes at both places so that it could be the guests can choose. Like for example, we have our pineapple fried rice at White Orchids is one of our most popular dishes, but it's also over $25, and it has lots of different seafood in it. So we deconstructed it.
So I just want to give that a plug. I love that.
Yeah. So we just deconstructed it and took out all the different seafood out of it, and it's a $15 dish over at Little Orchids, and it's more of a avenue for people if they want to check it out for the what we have and what we represent. And if they go there, then they're like, oh, let's go special occasion to Notch, check out.
Yeah.
We really like the chow mein we had at Little Orchids. The menu and the bar look awesome at Notch, and looks like they have a lot of really cool special occasion stuff, like the chef's table or private events upstairs. So it's kind of like a little gateway, to the other restaurants, to an access point. That's kind of like the thought with Little Orchids. It's also kind of harkens back to White Orchids when we first opened up as well. The first 2 years, we didn't have like a bar there. We only had like half the size of the restaurant where you see like now where the bar starts and goes over to the right-hand side. That wasn't part of the whole entire scheme like the first couple years.
Yeah.
So I think that was like more only about 30 tables at the time, the original White Orchids. So I wanted to kind of do that, kind of make it quaint and welcoming, and kind of harken back to the original White Orchids. And if we were to do maybe a fourth restaurant down the line or something, then I'd probably just clone Little Orchids and see maybe where it can go from there. I think like one of the coolest things is being at Little Orchids now for the past like living at Little Orchids the past 3 weeks is hearing people like we love going to White Orchids. We go there like once every like 4 months, but it's like a 40-minute drive or a 45-minute drive, and now like you guys are so much closer. It's like 20 minutes to us now.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how much of a reach people will go out to check out some of the different restaurants and stuff like that. So making it an availability for people that doesn't have to be a special once every 4 months. We're going to White Orchids, we can do it go to Little Orchids, and then if you still want to go to the original or to your White Orchids to Notch, you can do that. So that's kind of the coolest thing that I've taken away with the third spot so far.
I want to hit something that you talked about previously, which was all the different points that go into a restaurant: the food, the ambiance, the bar. Little Orchids is so beautiful inside. Like, it's unreal. The bar is so I obviously know very little about design, but it looks incredible. You just feel like you have an elevated experience. And so how do you go about thinking about that? I feel like each location, has its own feel, but Little Orchids just looks so nice inside.
Yeah, we wanted to have kind of the thread line of each of the other restaurants in Little Orchids. Of course, we wanted to make, the bar look really nice and clean and sharp. We wanted to kind of have that, we wanted to hearken to Notch and Notch's bar program is great. People know and love Notch's drinks, and we've won best bar in Allentown, best cocktail bar in the Lehigh Valley from Morning Call year in year out, which is really cool. So we wanted to make sure that we have to make the bar like semi nice,
right?
You need to have it, otherwise that kind of like doesn't look well on the other restaurants. But I mean, I think we wanted to have like a thread line of each. So we wanted to have the dark blue and gold tones of Notch. We wanted to have like some of the purples and light blues from White Orchids, but we also wanted to combine them all to make it more soft and welcoming. So so like all those colors that are there are just like a little bit lighter than the strong tones here and at White Orchids, and kind of make it similar in that color palette, but softer and welcoming.
It really comes together nicely.
Thanks. Yeah, we have like this mural that is behind the bar over at Notch. I mean, at Little Orchids, and we went through probably like 14 different looks of, hey, do you like this one better? Do you like this one better? And everything just seemed a little bit more too strong or too bold. So when we finally got the one we liked, it just made everything come together even that much. But it's just a really cool thing to look at. It's the mural's like really soft. It's got some really nice like I don't know. It just screams like, I want to sit here. I feel comfortable. Approachable.
Yeah, it gives that energy for sure. What do the kids say? It gives it.
It slaps.
It slaps. Yeah, there we go. It slaps. So you mentioned maybe opening a fourth location one day. Do you think I could be a bartender at your restaurant? I've been auditioning pretty hard.
You've been doing a pretty good job. Like I've seen you bartend.
My performance against Hannah over there was a little disappointing. I think that's a strike against me.
I think doing some podcasts behind a bar counter or a cold brew counter would be really cool.
I am in. Let's make that happen. That sounds great. We should do one, live at a Little Orchid or something.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. I think we're on to something here. Can I ask you something? It's a podcast, so I guess the answer is yes. I've gotten to know you and your family, and you are truly, I don't know how you do it. You are truly one of the best dads out there. You care for your family, and you do such a good job with 4 children. Yeah, 4 children.
Waiting for you to catch up.
Oh no! Oh, we are done, Jeff. And you run now 3 restaurants, and they're all well established. Well, 2 are very well established. very good. And now a third that you just launched. Like, how do you balance everything? How do you make it work?
I think if you probably sum it up in just a couple words, I think that just having understanding. I think Becky's very understanding. The kids are understanding. I think also include them in, the process of helping decide some different things, and then showing, sample menus as we're going off with it. It can just be like a couple minutes, a little quick chat, but then they feel like part of it or invested in it. And then also same thing with the restaurants. Like when we were getting Little Workers off the ground, we wanted to make sure that our key players are also in the know, and if they were interested in being a part of Little Orchids, and I think we do we did Thursday meetings, and Saturday night after this slows down, we'll just go grab a drink and we'll chat, talk about hey, will be really cool at a third location, and getting the key players in place, and once the ball starts rolling, then the people that are part of it have already been part of it, even though they don't might like my kids might not know that they're part of it, so when it comes together, and then my kids are like, oh, I haven't seen daddy in 2 weeks, but then they know, because they've been part of that process. And
do they think it's cool? Like, we pass your restaurants and my kids go, that's Kylie and Brody's restaurant. And then we pass, my office, and they go, oh, that's cool. Like, do your kids think it's as cool as it is that you own and run these restaurants?
I mean, I think I think the, for kids and stuff like that, food's always a good thing, right? People need food, and people need drinks, and my kids love our boba drinks and stuff like that. And some of the teachers say my favorite dish is this at your folks' place. So it's I think they think it's a cool thing. And that's the one thing that I really enjoy about restaurants, growing up and being in them and going into them, is that you go to a restaurant and almost all the time you're going in there for a good experience. You don't really go in there for a bad experience. You're either going for celebrating, hanging out with family, or celebrating something cool, or going on a date night that you haven't had for a while, so it's always starts off good. And then, if the restaurant can execute just some of those 50% criteria, you can't really go negative unless you go really negative,
right,
in terms of what you're outputting. So I think that's one of the coolest things is it typically has a good connotation to it already,
One thing I wanted to say is that you do embody the restaurant. Wherever I go, right? You bring a drink or drinks for everybody. You bring food, to that point of it being a good experience and a good time. That's just who you are, which is great. I was also going to say you also know everybody. Anytime I'm hey, you're oh yeah, I know this person. I seem so ingrained in the community, which is awesome. Two things, though. We have to give a shout out to our sponsor. In season 1, our sponsor was Notch Modern Kitchen and Bar. I don't know if you've been there, but they do this awesome thing. They make incredible cocktails, basically. You tell them, what kind of spirit you want in there and what kind of mood you're in, and they can come up with this custom cocktail. I love it. It's one of my favorite places. You should definitely check it out sometime. But I what we did season 1 was, we would say that, and then we would ask someone, it's the end of a long work week. So you opened up a brand new restaurant, and you're not maybe 85 hours, but you're doing lots of hours there. It's the end of the week. What is Jeff reaching for? What is his drink?
It's typically a bourbon.
Yeah, I know.
Just a bourbon. And being in the kitchen too. And in the night we're cleaning up, and it's just a bourbon on the rocks with a splash of water, and goes to right now. I'm been working with our sous chef over at Little Orchids quite a bit, so it's always bringing one for him as well too. We're wrapping up the night. That's my go-to right now.
That's perfect. All right, and then this season we have a new sponsor. Hocus Pocus Cleaning Services. They're truly magical. Everything they do makes your place look incredible. And so they're so magical. I ask all my guests, if you could have one magical ability, what would it be?
I think it would be being at any place at any given time. I think
teleportation.
Yeah.
With 3 locations, I feel like that would be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, we have like these crossover managers that sometimes I see them at one spot, and then all of a sudden we see them at a different spot, and they're like, "Hey, how'd you get over here?"
Yeah.
So I think that'd be like my little power. I think
that's awesome. Anything we didn't hit that we should hit? There's so much we didn't that I want to hit, so we're gonna have you back. But in the meantime, is there anything we didn't hit?
No, I mean, this has been a really fun time, and I don't know why I didn't do it earlier.
I'm so, like I said, this was my white whale. This was my Moby Dick. I've been trying to get you on here and finally got you. And it was everything I hoped for. So thank you, Jeff. I'm looking at the camera. If you haven't been to Little Orchid yet, get there. It is awesome. It's one of a kind. And everything you guys do is great. So thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Boom.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the YMI Talking Podcast. If you enjoyed this and want to hear more content from amazing personalities in the Valley, please subscribe, leave a rating, and drop us a quick review.